Welcome to another edition of SKNIS Week in Review. The Week in Review highlights the top stories of the work of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for the past week. Here are some of the highlights for January 26th to February 1st, 2018. St. Kitts and Nevis records third consecutive year of economic growth. Customs junior officers receive training. And SKN coaches undergo training. I am your presenter, Sherma Matthew. Preliminary estimates for 2018 indicate that St. Kitts and Nevis' economy will once again expand for the third consecutive year, said Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Prime Minister Harris was at the time addressing an audience during a press conference on Thursday, February 1st, where he noted that for 2018, the economy is predicted to grow by about 3.7%. Prime Minister Harris made mention of a number of sectors that showed significant growth.
Notwithstanding the economic disruption and setback occasioned by two Category 5 hurricanes, the growth was impacted positively by a 9% expansion in construction services. Agriculture, we are proud to report, although still too small a percentage of the economy, it clocked in 14.3% growth, and it was due in large measure to the better weather conditions, boosting crop yields up to September when the hurricane had struck us. We experienced increased production of meats and there were greater fishing landings. Of course, this is in part had been due to the use of additional FADs, fishing aggregate devices, in the course of 2017. Growth in the hotel sector and financial services was marginal but positive at 1% and 1.3% respectively. The wholesale and retail trade grew by 3.4% and public administration by 3.1%. Manufacturing declined by 6.5% as a consequence of adverse changes in the international market for our products, which are principally electronics, which we export to USA, to Europe, and those markets. Of note, however, that among the OECD states, St. Kitts and Nevis has the highest per capita exports. We record, as of 2016, the highest per capita exports in the region and the third highest exports per capita in CARICOM. We were outdone in this regard within CARICOM only by Bahamas and oil-rich Trinidad and Tobago.
He described the growth as good news for a very small country, and I quote, "towering against the structural and systematic constraints of small size and limited resources." 28 junior officers, 26 from the St. Kitts and Nevis Customs and Excise Department, and 2 from Her Majesty's Customs and Excise Department of Montserrat, are presently undergoing 8 weeks of training in the 12th Annual Caribbean Customs Law Enforcement Council's CICLEC Junior Officers Basic Training Course. Calvin Edwards, Deputy Financial Secretary, said that the course, which is, and I quote, aimed at building the capacity of junior customs officers, end of quote, as well as the topics to be delivered are timely and relevant.
The delivery of this training course is unique in that the facilitators are largely from the Customs Department in partnership with other government agencies such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Trade, the Agriculture Department, and the Department of Physical Planning. In other words, it's homegrown. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome all participants, particularly those from Montserrat. It is always a pleasure to have you as participants in this course. I am certain that you would find your stay here enjoyable and a home away from home. It is also fitting for me at this time to recognize and thank Mr. Gerard Bell, who is not here due to illness, for his significant contribution in ensuring that training is still a priority of this department, and also in the implementation of various reform initiatives in modernizing the customs department. It is important that we put this training course in context by recalling the important role that the custom plays in our countries. This would give us a better appreciation of the importance of this training.
The course will run from January 29th to March 2nd. Sessions will be conducted by officials in the Department of Agriculture, the Ministries of Trade and Foreign Affairs, as well as by Joseph Richardson, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police. The Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, Communication Strategy on Child Abuse in Sports was launched at a one-day training workshop in St. Kitts on Monday, January 29th, as officials seek to break the silence on a topic that isn't widely discussed in the Caribbean region. Dr. Grace Ann Cornwall, head of the Social Development Unit OECS Commission, congratulated the Ministry of Sports for its willingness to embrace this issue of child protection. She also encouraged other stakeholders to play their part.
I wish to implore again the Ministries of Community Development, Social, Sports, and Youth Development to let us routinely engage with community-based organizations to conduct awareness sessions just as these. It is critical that the human resource involved in sporting is constantly aware of the new trends in the industry, such as sensitive areas like these. Those at the community level who are instrumental in implementing sports need also to be aware of the legislation that exists and the repercussions for those who offend.
The workshop was organized by the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, Commission, and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Experts from the International Commission of Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, have been commissioned by the St. Kitts National Commission for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to conduct an evaluation on the city of Charlestown to submit a bid for the inscription of the town as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Antonia Maynard, Secretary General for the St. Kitts and Nevis National Commission for UNESCO, stated that the undertaking of the project to inscribe Charlestown, Nevis, will not be an easy road. However, he is confident that with the help of the ICOMOS specialists, this undertaking would be a success.
This project is about sustainable development of smaller and developing states in our mind. It is about preservation, conservation. It's about the promotion of the city of Charlestown in this instance as a World Heritage Site and a humongous cultural property. And so we are pleased to be undertaking this particular exercise.
The ICOMOS team visit to assess the historic sites started on January 29th with courtesy calls to the Governor General, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, and Minister of Culture, the Honorable Sean Richards. Minister Richards welcomed the delegates to the Federation and assured them that the project is very important to national culture and that they can count on the full support of the government. Reflecting on the Buckley's riots of January 1935, Senior Minister and Minister of Labour, the Honorable Vance Amory, encouraged everyone to view the events as a revolutionary act which, and I quote, changed the way workers and employers began to look at each other, end of quote.
I feel we have to go beyond calling it an uprising, because what happened on the 28th of January 1835 really turned things up. 1935 turned things around for the entire Caribbean and perhaps the world. Sometimes we don't see the impact of what we have done in the Caribbean to influence world thinking.
Minister Amri said that it is important to speak and think positive while celebrating the achievement of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis's democracy coming out of the Buckley's Revolution, as the ideas behind the uprising were ideas for growth, development, and the salvation of the nation. He implored citizens and descendants of the heroes, both males and females of the Buckley's uprising, to begin to change the focus of their minds. He encouraged them to engage themselves in positive debates, as the Buckley's uprising was for a positive outcome which was accomplished. The Buckley's uprising of January 28, 1935 at the Buckley's Estate, St. Kitts, is one of the most defining moments in the St. Kitts and Nevis's history in terms of advancing the social, political, and economic betterment of nationals. The third episode of Working for You featured officials from the Department of Culture who spoke about promoting cultural heritage, as well as highlight programs of the department, among others. One aspect that came out was the Digital Cultural Archive of St. Kitts and Nevis. The Department of Culture is growing its digital archive of materials related to the literary, performing, culinary, and visual arts so as to preserve the unique works and make them readily accessible to present and future generations. Marlene Phillips, Research and Documentation Specialist at the Department of Culture, indicated that staff has been busy reviewing video and audio files, publications, acts and conventions, and other memorabilia. They are being catalogued and posted on the department's website at www.culture.gov.kn. Information is also available at the St. Kitts Department of Culture's Facebook page at St. Kitts Culture Beat. The Nevis Island Administration, NIA, through the leadership and vision of Premier the Honorable Mark Grantley, outlined the importance of cementing deeper ties with its sister island, St. Kitts, as mentioned in the throne speech delivered at the opening of the Nevis Island Assembly on Tuesday, January 30th. The speech, which was read by Her Honor Marjorie Morton, CSM, Acting Deputy Governor General for Nevis, outlined Premier Brantley's vision for both islands.
Mr. President, we must continue on our path of unity with St. Kitts. Our country, for the first time in its history, has a real chance to function as a true nation where the talents of all are recognized and pressed into service to build a better St. Kitts and Nevis. The little boy from Cox and the little girl from Matchman's Road must be treated no differently and must be given the same opportunity as the little boy from Keon or the little girl from Molyneux.
Premier Brantley's vision was further outlined, stating that as the partnership continues with St. Kitts in order to build a better and more cohesive nation, citizens, and I quote, ought to expect, end of quote, the government, and I quote, to do more to solidify access to our fair share, end of quote. The Premier noted that discussions have already begun between the NIA and the federal government on a number of legislation. He further added that the NIA looks forward to the full cooperation of the federal government in achieving this critical legislative agenda, which would usher in a new public revenue paradigm for Nevis. Thanks for viewing SKNIS Week in Review. I am Sherma Matthew. See you next week as we continue to update you, the general public, on what's happening in and around the Federation.